Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeffrey St Laurent, and this is the Tuesday Live Show. And today's topic is mastering the art of following up with leads, obviously, so you can get paid and get a better result than maybe what you're getting now. And we can always get a better result. And so we're going to talk about following up, setting expectations, and all that good stuff. Before we get into that, I do record all of my live shows, and I put them in my website, sellingcoaching.com, in the university. So check that out. I've got a fantastic bunch of resources there as I help coaches transition to a full-time business. So if that's you and you love coaching and you want to do this and get paid for what you love to do and develop it into a full-time income over the course of time, that's what I'm here for. So check out those great resources. And then right on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com is where I want you to start. And there's a resource there, and it's called Launching Your Full-Time Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. And even if you think you've already launched your coaching business, I would highly recommend that you listen to that. It's an audio course that you can go through. Enter your name and email address. You'll get instant access to that. And that's also going to put you in my email community. Not only get some great information on a weekly basis, but that's also going to teach you how to communicate with your audience, a vital piece of what we do. With that being said, let's dive into this topic of following up. Now, those of you that are in my email community got my email yesterday, and one of the things I said was, and that we've all heard before, is that the fortune is in the follow-up. And we got to follow up with people and follow up with people, and we got to do it over the course of time. I teach that as well, and that's how we turn that business into clients. And the reason for following up as we start this off is the philosophy of why we follow up over the course of time is because of the timing aspect of selling. So you've heard me, hopefully, if you're a student of mine, if not, know that when it comes down to selling something, we're selling our coaching services, or you're selling other aspects of what you do to help people. There's the need that someone has. That's what they want to do something about. And then there's the timing of that need. Well, when the timing is right, or the time is right in someone's life for them to do something about that need, that's when they're ready to buy. Now, they might not think, oh, I'm going to buy coaching or I'm going to hire a coach. That's not what anyone really in this world ever wakes up thinking, except for us coaches, like, oh, I should hire a coach. But no one else outside of the coaching population ever wakes up and says, I need to hire a coach, right? For the sake of conversation. So the point is that they want to do something about it and the time is right. Now, when they interact with you at a live event like this online, something that you write online, an article, a podcast of yours, maybe they see or hear you at a seminar that you do, but something that you're doing to get your message out there, they hear you. At that point in time, are they ready to do something about it? In other words, how is the timing for them to do something about the need that they have? Now, obviously, if I do a presentation and there's 20 of you, let's just go crazy. There's 500 of you that are watching, right? Well, might as well have fun with it, right? And you do a presentation and there's 500 people that are watching you at your seminar, right? It's fair to say that a very small percentage of those people at that time are going to do something about the need that they have. Therefore, if we just say a small percentage, right, then the other people, if it's 1%, right, of that, the other 99%, we want to make sure we follow up with them. And so there's different ways of following up, right? We're not going to follow up with everybody. There's going to be the general population where most likely we can get those people ideally into our email community. Just like I asked you, right? I said, I have some great resources. Go to sellingcoaching.com on the homepage, enter your name and email. I said, hey, here's a great resource for you, but I want you in there. And I want you in there because I want to provide you with valuable resources and insights over the course of time. But I also know is that, right now when you come into my world, into the selling coaching world, as I start to teach you, you have interest or you want to do something with your full-time coaching business, but the timing might not be ready for you to either do something about it, or especially it might not be ready for you to, let's say, hire me as your mentor coach. So I want to make sure that I'm in front of you, educating you, nurturing and building our relationship, building trust, showing value for what I can help you with through this education, these educational things that I do, so that maybe when the timing's right, you might be like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Def. I think I'm ready to hire him. I think I want to find out more about that, right? That's all it is that with the follow-up with these people, there's a bunch of them that, let's say at this a big event that you're doing, there's a big portion of them that you're going to have natural follow-up as they're part of your email community. Now, some people will unsubscribe, et cetera. That's fine. But we want to be in front of those people. That's why we use email on a regular basis. That's why when you hire me as your mentor coach, one of the things I help you set up is your email structure in your system and how to utilize that, stay in front of your audience. That's why I want you in my email community so you can start to see how I do that and stay in touch and in front of my audience over time. Now, with that being said, that's the general follow-up way of doing it. And then obviously there's the other small percentage of people that maybe you interact with and talk with after the event, and they ask you some questions. Hey, tell me more about your coaching. How much does your coaching cost? Or maybe you just had a good interaction with them afterwards and they're saying, oh my God, I loved what you did so much. It's so helpful. And those are the people that we want to actually follow up with for real in the sense of an active follow-up. And that's, I'm going to be calling them afterwards, or I'm actually going to be sending them an email. Hey, so-and-so, it was great speaking with you after the event. I know you asked me a little bit more about my coaching or what it costs, or tell me more about that. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about this. Why don't we set up a brief 10, 15-minute call so we can have a discussion so I can learn more about where you're at and we can decide where to go from there, right? So that's that follow-up. So again, the reason of following up why in the first place over time is so that we can be in front of people when the timing is right. And when the timing is right, that's when they're more likely to, or at least are open to considering or are considering hiring us for what we do as a coach. Now, that's the why of the follow-up. So we want to understand the essence of that and the importance of that, because if we don't have any follow-up, and I'm trying to show you follow-up on different avenues, following up in general, meaning your emails, your weekly emails, that's your general follow-up for everyone that you meet and come into contact with, friends, family to start off with, and then relevant contacts as you go along. Like, this is how you follow up with them. In other words, it's staying in touch. It's staying in front of them. That's another way of following up, right? And so with that being said, then there's more of the active follow-up for the more detailed inquiries that you might get through any types of marketing that you do, events, et cetera. So now that we understand that and why we're following up with that, it's also important that we understand that when you're interacting with somebody and you're having more of a detailed follow-up, meaning they've asked you something about your coaching, let me learn a little bit more and things like that. Once it escalates to that stage, whether it comes out of the gates like that, like I did at an event and these two people came up to me and they're like, oh yeah, tell me more about your coaching. And we have a conversation after that. Or if they've been in your email list for a while and you've been emailing them, and now all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork and say, hey, tell me more about your coaching, or maybe there's some interest there, or you make an approach. Once it escalates to that level, now this is really important to understand. Once it escalates to that level, there's a certain time frame after that where there's a small window of opportunity where they're either going to hire us or they're not. And it's our job to understand where that person is from the second it escalates until the second we have let's say a decision from them, whether it's yes, they want to hire us or not because they've gone through our whole process, or they're open to considering hiring us or they're not, right? At certain points along the way of the follow-up, once it escalates now, we've got to understand where they are along that process by asking questions, clarifying, being clear with expectations. What does that sound like? Oh, gee, it sounds like us being a coach. The only framework is we're putting in the framework of the selling skill set, because as a coach, we don't have an agenda in a coaching session. But here, as a coach, we have an agenda because our agenda is to find out the need that they have and why is now the right time for them to do something about that. And based on that, are they looking for help? Are they open to taking a closer look at how we could help them if they were to hire us as their coach? Are they open to talking about that a little bit further? That's all we're doing. That's where we've got to go. And that's kind of that qualifying process where we're starting to understand where they're at. And we've got to listen. We've got to listen openly, not from what we want to hear, not from like, oh my God, I got a potential client. Oh my God. No, you have to understand if you have a potential client or not. And the only way you understand if you have a potential client or not is by understanding the need they have, the timing. And the third part is, do they qualify? In other words, are they open to taking a closer look at how you could help them if they were to hire you? So now at that point, that begins that process. And at that point, they either are or they aren't. And I really, for the sake of this conversation in terms of following up, and moving forward successfully to get better results or to get results in the first place if you haven't gotten any yet, is it's very important you are very black and white in terms of yes or no. Any gray space in the middle there, we need to clarify and help them towards a yes or a no. And a no is just as good as a yes, even though we prefer a yes through the whole process, ultimately at the end where they say, yes, I want to hire you. However, a no is just as good because number one, it's a decision. And number two, now you understand because guess what? If it's a no, thank you very much. I wish you the best. Next. And you move on. And now you know you don't have to follow up with that person anymore. See, decisions guide and dictate follow-up. Decisions from the other person is what allows us to understand whether we should be following up or not. And if it's a yes, decision yes, and it's a yes but not now because the timing's not right, very rarely is it a no. It's typically a no but not now, or yes, I'd like to but not now, right? In other words, it's all about timing. So we need to understand why is now the timing not right, and if they're still genuinely interested, when could we follow up? And if you find that out, that's when yes but not now, or even a no but not now turns into, are you still genuinely interested? And if so, now that we understand that, great. When would things change, or when would you want me to check in? We're getting permission for that follow-up, right? So if someone's genuinely interested in talking to me about working with me as their mentor coach, as an example, I'll follow with them forever. As long as at any given check-in point of that follow-up, meaning when are we going to follow up? Oh, maybe the beginning of March, or in you name the month, right? Great. So reach out to me if something changes, but if I don't hear anything from you, I will follow up with you on March 1st, and we can decide where we want to go from there. And then I go to March 1st, and I put them in my calendar, follow up with so-and-so, and guess what? I close the book, and I forget about that person, and I move on, and I put my focus on where it should be. When March 1st comes along, guess what? Oh yeah, follow up with so-and-so. Okay, I go back to my email where the thread is. I go back to my notes in my contact list and my Excel spreadsheet, and I refresh myself on the conversation and where it's at. And then I follow up with that person. You know what? Guess what? Believe it or not, it's March 1st. And per our last conversation, you said that you wanted me to follow up with you to check in to see where you were at on us potentially working together. And if the timing is right, let me know what you're thinking. And if you think the timing's right, let's continue the conversation. If not, let me know if you're still genuinely interested, and we can determine our next follow-up point, if at all, right? It's very simple at that point, because what's happening is we're setting clear expectations in terms of when we're following up and why we're following up, and then we're getting permissions for that, and it's agreed upon. But it's only agreed upon that we're following up because they said they're genuinely interested. The challenge is, or the problem, I like to say, is that with most coaches, is that when they get to the point with somebody, they're not listening to the hesitations and the pauses and the oh, I guess, or I'll try, or sure, okay, that sounds good, but maybe, and they're just, the person on the other line is very indecisive. And it's those people that if we don't clarify, they're like, yeah, you know what, just maybe follow up with me in a couple months, or, you know, once the spring comes, once this changes, once the sky turns brown, once the grass is, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like basically they're saying like, I'm not interested, or they can't make up their minds. They're not a decision creator. And therefore they get in a place where they're too paralyzed. And the problem with it is we as coaches, we're not doing our job. Our job is to help them decide. And some people you have to recognize can't decide. And they've never been able to decide, and they've always got to get permission from people because they grew up with, and the history with their father and their mother and their family, et cetera. We're not going to get into that stuff, but the point is with all that stuff is anytime they had asked for something, they get shut down and they can't decide for themselves. So they just waffle in this indecision and they can't get anywhere. And it's our job to elicit that decision from somebody by asking questions and by kind of reading their energy and listening to it on a deeper level, and then saying, you know, it sounds to me, you might be saying yes, but I'm hearing some hesitations. Talk to me about that. What are you feeling? Or, you know, I'm getting that you really want to move forward, but at the same time, there's some hesitation. Talk to me about that. Tell me more about that. Hey, listen, I'm more than happy to let you go, but you're still here, and that tells me something that you want what you want bad enough, and you're seriously consider working with me, or telling you want to work with me, but it feels like you're getting caught up in, you know, your financial situation. You're getting caught up in a lot of the circumstances. Talk to me about what you're thinking, what's going on in your mind. Find out what's going on, and sometimes you got to be the person that says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I wish you the best. If something changes, you know my information. I wish you the best. Pause for a second. You took it away. If they're going to say, okay, thank you, or they're going to be like, no, wait a minute. That's the takeaway. And that's the art of following up, is we need to understand that we can't just take people's word for things, because guess what? People lie. People lie. It's a fact of life. And they're not lying to be deceitful. They're not lying to try and weasel out of something in the sense of, they're lying in the sense because they don't know what to say. They don't know how to speak their thoughts or their emotions. They don't know how to stand up for what they want in their world. And they don't know what it is. And they're so afraid because they allow things like circumstances like, oh my God, it's all this money or all this stuff. And you know what? I'm busy right now. And it's just like, you know what? What we've got to understand is when someone wants something and they want it bad enough, they go after it. And it doesn't matter what obstacles come in the way, and finances and time and approval and all this other stuff go out the window, and they go after it. And you know what? Some people just aren't like that. Some people just accept things and they settle for things and they can't get out of their own way. And it's up to us to start to understand some of that stuff. And a lot of it is it's up to us to get out of our own way as a coach and put all that stuff aside and put our own kind of our own judgments around ourselves and what we're doing and all the beliefs we have around ourselves that maybe we're not good enough, or maybe they don't like us, or we're charging too much or too little money, and realize none of that matters. What matters is where this person is, what they want to do, and it's our job is to hold them accountable for what they're going for. And in fact, the stronger you are with that, the more value you start to build as a coach. Right? So more value you start to build as a coach because no one else is doing in their world. And so sometimes when we're following up and we're having these conversations, we've got to actually be a little bit tough on somebody. But the great part is as a coach, we can be tough. We can be tough with someone because we can say what no one else can say, because it can come from a place of a detached, non-judgmental or objective standpoint, and say, listen, you know what? It doesn't matter to me whether you stay in your marriage or not, whether you stay in your job or not, whether you move forward with this or not. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I want to help you understand what you want and then go after it authentically and purposefully and relentlessly. That's what matters to me. So whether you move forward or go in a different direction or go upside down or flip all around this side, I don't care. What I care about is getting from you what you want with no one else's consideration right now, and help them understand that piece. And we've got to do that. And that's the art of following up. That's the art of coaching. It doesn't stop when someone hires us. You know, every single session we have with them, every interaction we have with them, we've got to understand where they are in that process. This begins from the point of contact with somebody. It could be in a supermarket. It could be at a seminar. It could be at an event like this. It could be in a simple contact, you know, a comment or a like or something like that, that we can start digging up and creating conversations from there. That's where the follow-up begins. And we carry it along the way. I just want to make sure that you're not wasting your time with people and fooling yourself in that, oh, I've got all these leads, when the reality is I used to do that too, and I realized I didn't have any leads. I just had a bunch of people joking around, goofing around, who were curious, and I was just kind of playing along the game with them, until we start to create conversations, real conversations that lead into real conversations where they're opening up and you're actually asking, hey, would you consider hiring me? You know, are you serious about doing something about this? Would you be open to taking a closer look? Are you open for a conversation? Right? That's bridging the gap. That's what I call the approach. We bridge that gap, and now we approach them. And then from then, that's when it escalates to that level. And now there's a small time frame where they're either gonna move forward or they're not. And if they're not, that's okay. We're not pressuring anybody. All we're doing is we're helping them towards a decision. We're helping them create a decision. And that's the essence of what we're going for with the follow-up.